I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-Minute Convos, where I help you create a brand of your own unique real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Matt Johnson. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful night?
Well, it's late afternoon for me in beautiful San Diego, and I cannot complain. Life is gorgeous here.
Oh, yeah. I think we're like 4 hours probably in exchange, yeah? So if you are 4 hours earlier than me, what part of San Diego are you?
I am just outside of La Jolla.
All right.
It's one of the most beautiful parts of Southern California.
Yeah, I was there. I passed through. La Jolla is beautiful. I was there like a couple of months ago.
Nice. That's awesome.
It was great. Oh, it was great. It was the closest to the Caribbean.
That's right.
So do tell us, which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history?
Well, it is podcasting, which is probably the best networking tool available right now. I mean, and a close second to it is LinkedIn, which is how we actually started the conversation. But podcasting is the reason that both of us are kind of in the positions where we are to talk to some amazing people. And that's how you and I connected.
It's fascinating. Now, folks, Matt has an advantage, though. He's talking and he's sounding really beautiful, which speaks to his podcast ability. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I figured out a while ago, while I was running podcasts and webinars and things like that, that I had a couple of key skill sets that helped. I used to, before I got into podcasting, I listened to a lot of improv comedy, and I was a big fan of some podcasts like Adam Carolla, and that helped build the ability to think on my feet and ask good questions. Tim Ferriss's podcast is another great one for coming up with really interesting and unique questions. And so I turned that into running webinars in my industry. That led to one of the people I was hosting webinars with actually pitched me on starting a podcast together. I had never run one, hadn't produced one, hadn't done anything in podcasting. And so I decided to take the leap. I co-hosted and did all the back end work, and then started to gradually build the systems and hand off one thing at a time to other people, and eventually built an entire team so I could just show up and have the conversation, and all the rest of the production process happened behind the scenes. And as soon as I did that, we were able to increase and do our podcast live 3 times a week. And so that started attracting a lot of attention, especially in my kind of niche where I hang out most of the time, which is a lot of, business coaches and consultants. And so people started to ask me what I was doing, and so I would kind of share the team that I'd built. And everybody's reaction was, "Oh, that's awesome, but that sounds exhausting. Could you just do that for us?" And so I kind of got pulled into producing podcasts for other people because of the team I built for myself. So that's really that's my skill and my superpower, so to speak, is building scalable marketing systems. And I built it for myself first, and now I help other people with the same thing.
Yeah, which definitely, if we boil down, really shows a level of adaptability on your behalf. Who did you learn that from?
Man, that's a good question. I have no idea. As far as adaptability, sometimes you just have to take those chances. And when that gentleman I mentioned pitched me on the idea of starting a podcast, really my entire thought process was, "Oh, that sounds fun." I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and like a lot of businesses, if I had known what I was getting myself into, I might not have done it. So it's probably a good thing that I didn't know the amount of work involved.
Yeah, it definitely is a ton of work. It definitely is a ton of work. So why will you continue to be that guy that dives headfirst in and then eventually swims better and faster than others?
Well, yeah, a couple of reasons. So it really fits my skill set. And so I kind of, after about a year of running my production business, I figured out, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, that the 3 top things that I brought to the business were strategy, project management, and copywriting. And for anyone that runs a podcast or kind of runs like an information marketing business, ideally, those are your top 3 strengths as well. Those are the things that the business kind of looks to you to provide. Mm-hmm. And podcasting is a perfect kind of hand in glove fit for those 3 strengths. And so for as long as we ride this wave where podcasting is popular, and I don't see that wave ending anytime in the next decade, I'm going to keep riding it, using my skills to push this trend further and help more people do it.
Are there many people that are listening who identify with those guys who said, hey, that's a ton of work. Let's just get you to do that. Where's the best place for them to connect with you to find out more about that?
Yeah, easiest place is my website, pursuingresults.com. So you can check out the service there. You can see testimonials from happy clients and see what their experience is like. And where I get a lot of my fulfillment, and the reason that we're talking is I love having amazing conversations with really incredible, ultra successful people. And if you're the same way, if you're listening and you're either having those conversations and it's tough to keep up on the production process, or you'd like to have those conversations and bring them to your audience, that's what we do, because that's where I get my fulfillment. Is I want to help like business coaches and consultants who have amazing content, life-changing content. I want to help bring that to more people.
Love it. Well, do tell us one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
I would say using podcasting as a way to connect with people. And what I mean by that is once you build up, whether it's your own podcast or relationships with other podcast hosts, once you have some of those relationships, it's incredibly easy to reach out to just about anyone that you want to connect with. And the pitch goes something like this. Hey, Mr. Smith, I noticed I came across you here. We have a couple of mutual friends, mutual connections in the industry. I'd love to have a chat with you. I think I can maybe introduce you to some podcasts where you'd be a great guest. If you're interested, let me know and let's set up a quick chat. And I've had some of the best conversations and what turned out to be clients and friends and industry connections through that very, very simple outreach. So I've been doing that for 3+ years, whether it's through LinkedIn or just through email and other various, forms of social media. But that's probably the one thing that's contributed the most directly to the bottom line of my business is proactive, consistent reach out using podcasts as the lever or as the excuse or the reason to reach out and the way that I can add value in the conversation.
Looking back from then to now, how does that make you feel?
It's pretty incredible. I am by nature a connector. I really enjoy making strategic connections and introductions behind the scenes. And so the more influential people I know, the more valuable I can be to other influential people. So one of the things I enjoy doing the most is making really key critical strategic introductions behind the scenes. One of the most fun things I ever did was I introduced somebody who at the time wasn't even a client. I introduced him to another major podcaster in the space. They ended up hitting it off so well that they became business partners.
Wow.
Which is an incredible thing. Yeah, it was that's really, again, going back to fulfillment. Creating relationships and creating connections is where I get a lot of fulfillment. So that's probably the thing that I've enjoyed most over the last few years.
Why would you suggest someone that's listening do that with their business? Create, if not the same format, but at least the fulfillment for others in their business?
I think the key is to focus consciously on, and I mean every day, it's actually one of the key strategic things I track in my business every day is the number of outbound introductions that I make. So I think awareness and intention is the key to that and really tracking that. And then just what that does is that opens your brain up and your brain starts to look for opportunities to introduce people. And when you have a conversation with someone, those connections and those opportunities will naturally start to pop up because your brain, that reticular activating system in the back of your brain is actively looking for ways to introduce people to each other. So those opportunities come up more often and you can capitalize them on more often. So I think that's the key.
Amazing audience. Again, you're hearing it live from Matt Johnson. You can check him out at pursuingresults.com. Matt, let's switch gears for a moment. Let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Matt, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Okay, so I had to think about this, and the one that I remember the most vividly is I was at church back in the day when I was about 4 years old. And I can remember the drummer at church bringing me up, sitting me on his lap after service when they were playing the music that people would leave to. And they would play a couple of songs with the band, and I would play the top half with the sticks, and he would play the bottom half with the feet, because literally my feet would not reach the pedals. And one of the experiences that built my confidence the most was hearing from people that they could not tell the difference between when I was playing and when the drummer was playing regular, which is incredible. What it really did, it's a lesson for me. It always stuck with me about the power of mentorship.
How old were you?
And that's never left me.
How old were you then?
About 4 years old.
All right, you said that. My bad.
Mm-hmm.
I get so caught up in these memories. It's like I'm there and I'm seeing it as well. All right, so why do you think this particular memory is so clear, though?
Because there's something about the emotion of the moment and the feel of doing something that gets embedded into your memory, I think. And that's a good lesson in like anytime you want to remember something and you're consciously trying to remember something, to amplify the emotion and really pay attention to your senses. And that's where things really get set into your memory. Now, for me, that happened by accident just because of the situation. But I think that's part of why it gets embedded and stirs up even today emotion with it, because there was emotion with it that was that happened in real time when it was happening. So yeah, that sense of satisfaction, that sense of pride in a job well done, in that case, I think was part of what embeds that in my memory and makes it stand out today.
How do you see that memory connecting to who you are today?
Well, the way that I see it connecting is there are key people in my life without which I would not be who I am. And I recognize the value of when I want to make another step in my life, there's two things that I do. Number one, I read every book I can get my hands on the subject, and I find someone, a mentor, that I can go and pick their brain and get into their life and get into a relationship with them. So, for example, my business coach now, I met him a couple years ago. I booked him on a podcast, and we had a great conversation. He sent me a book. I read the book, loved the book, followed up and started building a relationship, and that relationship turned into what is now a great friendship and a business coaching relationship. And so that's just an example of that concept of mentorship that I learned going all the way back to when I was 3 and 4 years old with that drummer who mentored me when I was a kid. That carried all the way over into my business life, to where now I have an incredible mentorship type of relationship with people who are bringing me along in business because of that. And those two experiences directly tie to each other. And it really, I mean, the mentorship, the books that you read and the people that you get mentored by are the key things to determine who you're going to be in, 5 years from now.
It's pretty amazing. Can I add or offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind with the memory?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the concept of the part of our conversation earlier on where you unpacked one of the things you love doing is introducing people, key people, just behind the scenes, really likely. It was fascinating to see the imagery in the drummer and you being there and people not seeing actually that the drummer, the bigger guy, was actually using his foot to do the tom, right? Is it the tom? Is the kick? Sorry.
Yes. The kick and the hi-hat. Yeah, very good.
Yes. So it was really cool to see that imagery happening, and now to see you doing that, where behind the scenes, you're the guy on the kick now, helping other people metaphorically build their networks and build who they are. That was pretty fascinating to look at.
Yeah, that's that. I did not make that connection, but that's 100% true. Yeah, I'm the guy that supports and helps a lot of people behind the scenes make a big impact, but keep the spotlight on them. That's 100% true.
I love it. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
I was thinking about this the other day, and I cannot find a song that I love more than the song that's always been my favorite for as long as I can remember. And this goes back to, I literally have listened to this person since before I was born. It's the reason I play piano and drums to this day. So it's a song called Song for Josiah by a songwriter named Keith Green. And my parents listened to Keith Green before I was born. And I've listened to him ever since. He's that one person or band that I continually come back to for my entire life and will for the rest of my life. That's how deeply embedded his music is in my heart and mind.
There we go. All right, my friend. Well, we've arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Matt?
I'm ready. Let's roll.
Matt, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Absolutely. I've got people in training right now.
Are you married?
No.
Do you have children?
I do not.
Do you believe in God?
Absolutely.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Absolutely.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
I wish I had the time.
How about 3 hours a week?
3 hours a week, yes, mostly to relax from thinking about business for so much of the time.
Yeah, I could see that, especially with editing. What about screen time? The phone and the computer. Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Oh, absolutely. It's more than 8 hours a day.
Matt, if you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, Matt Johnson, what would you say that is?
Well, in a business sense, I build scalable marketing systems for expertise businesses. That's the closest thing I have to a unique real statement.
There we go. There we go. Matt, well, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Well, if you enjoyed this type of conversation, start a podcast. That's what I have to share. It's not that hard. There are easy ways to get started. And if you think you're not quite ready to start a podcast, go be a guest. This is a great experience for me. Angela, you've had a ton of awesome people. And there's probably people in your audience right now that are thinking, yeah, but I'm not ready. I'm not quite pitchable enough. I'm not quite, ready to be a guest. You'd be surprised. I'm sure you can attest to this, and I can attest to this, running 4 different podcasts and producing a bunch of others. We are always starving for amazing guests, and there are some amazing people out there right now who think they're not ready to be a guest, and they're probably wrong.
I totally agree. And you, my friend, are an amazing guest. Matt, thank you so much for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.